The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
Imagine living where annual rainfall levels can reach 8 meters. That's a tropical rainforest, and life flourishes there as abundantly as the precipitation. Rainforests cover only 2% of the Earth's surface, yet over half of the world's plant, animal, and insect species live there. Unfortunately, if current trends continue, these species will be out of a home soon, and our planet will be out of luck. Hi, I'm Ed Begley Jr., and this is Today's Environment, where we examine ideas, innovations, and strategies designed to make our planet a better place to live. Can you afford to throw money away? Well, that's exactly what you're doing when you waste energy. Old, inefficient appliances, poor insulation, and failure to conserve wherever possible drains our energy supply and your bank account. It's really not hard to conserve energy. Watch this, and you'll see.
They hide in dark basements, on the back porch, and in cluttered garages. Their voracious appetite for electricity surpasses all reasonable standards. It's the spare refrigerator. If you've got one of these inefficient monsters, you could be spending as much as $2.75 a week to cool a 6-pack of soda that costs only $1.50. Hundreds of thousands of these energy hogs gobble up power and household budgets all across America. The old spare refrigerator can account for nearly 25% of power consumption in some households. It's no wonder power companies want them out of the house and out of commission. One power company, Southern California Edison, actually initiated a spare refrigerator recycling program. In a partnership with the Appliance Recycling Center of America and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, they plan to remove as many as 222,000 old spare refrigerators during the 3-year program.
A spare refrigerator is one which is used only for supplemental cold storage in the home. A spare refrigerator is typically found in the garage, in the carport, in the basement, or somewhere other than in the kitchen.
Now, in order to qualify, the unit must be currently working as a second refrigerator in a residence for at least 6 months and be between 10 and 25 cubic feet. Enticed by a $50 savings bond, the utilities customers call in and voluntarily retire their spare refrigerators. The effort to recycle these old appliances created an entirely new business that is helping rebuild a riot-torn community in Los Angeles. More than 100 new employees from the area now work as a team to collect and dismantle the refrigerators and salvage the copper, aluminum, and other reclaimable materials. They also safely remove the old refrigerants, which use ozone-depleting chlorofluorocarbon, or CFC-based chemicals, and they dispose of all polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, and their associated cancer risks. Estimates predict that the program will collect and recycle more than 20,000 tons of steel, aluminum, and copper. By turning in their spare refrigerator, the average Edison customer will save nearly $144 on their annual electric bill. That translates into a savings of about 278 million kilowatt hours of electricity over the life of the program, enough to power thousands of typical California homes for 3 years. Strict codes took effect in January of 1994 that make it illegal to dispose of large appliances in California landfills without first recycling the materials. At a time when every unit of power impacts our environment and the energy supplies for future generations, conservation, that is, saving energy, becomes just as important as finding new sources. And a good look at our own energy habits may reveal some very small sacrifices that can yield some very large savings.
Recycle one bottle and you could save enough energy to run a 100-watt bulb for about 4 hours. Now that's a bright idea. Recycle and get involved with today's environment today.
Decisions, decisions, decisions. Wouldn't it be great if all decisions could be made with a simple coin toss? Unfortunately, nearly every choice we make carries an impact on the people and the world around us. So how do we make our good judgment even better? Our next story takes a look.
Facing the unknown, few things terrify us more. Yet a better tomorrow depends on today's decisions with a vision towards the future. Now more than ever before, a strategy to achieve environmental excellence often succeeds in cutting costs, improving performance, and delivering more value for the consumer. Detailed governmental regulations can create a tension between low-cost operations and environmental quality. But going beyond mere compliance sometimes offers opportunities to reduce cost and help the planet. A large electric utility and a major computer manufacturer discovered this. Now, some consulting firms like Decision Focus Incorporated specialize in helping companies find these opportunities. Like when cleaning agents used on the boilers of a major electric utility created a large volume of wastewater which required treatment before disposal. A thorough analysis of all components led the plant chemists to a replacement of the usual cleaner with one that could be recycled. The choice to abandon a tried-and-true method for a more planet-friendly one paid off. It saved money and reduced hazardous waste. These lessons are now being applied at several other plants. Opportunities where economic and environmental goals fall together appear to be boundless. Managers often call in outside consulting firms to help them identify these options and develop a process to take advantage of them. The consultant frames the issues, options, and risks facing a management team who must select a direction that may carry a substantial impact on people or the planet. A chart of the complicated decision mazes often shows that companies can save money and spare the earth at the same time. In this age of global competition, the proactive, ecologically responsible path can often prove to be the most profitable solution. Decision Focus Incorporated consultants advocate designing for the environment from the start and currently work with the computer manufacturer Sun Microsystems. Together, they're developing plans to incorporate concerns about recyclability, toxics, and resource conservation issues right into the blueprints for their new products. Their objective is to create products that are both environmentally conscious and profitable. These efforts consistently prove that when ecological consciousness becomes a fundamental aspect of all corporate decision-making, it can generate the most competitive strategy and minimize the impact on the earth. Proactive planning often gives a company the edge in an industry stretching to deliver the best value to its customers while complying with regulations. In many cases, analysts use computerized simulations to probe the relationships between difficult options and their potential consequences. A number of future scenarios can be rapidly played out in a model, and the projected results often give management the insight needed to take action. Making responsible choices when faced with conflicting and complicated issues will never be easy. But now more than ever before, it becomes critical that the directions we choose today steer us toward a better tomorrow. Next, on Today's Environment, a look at quieter and cleaner jet aircraft engines, plus testing water for dangerous contaminants is becoming safer.
For many air travelers, takeoffs and landings are the least favorite parts of their flight. But when it comes to the environment, what happens at cruising altitudes can sometimes be pretty unsettling too. In our next segment, we'll find out how some new technology will allow aircraft to fly much more environmentally friendly skies.
Well, here comes another jet out of the milder blue yonder. Well, not quite milder yet, but in the very near future, more and more jet aircraft will be equipped with engines that'll make flying far quieter, cleaner, and greener.
When planes fly at high altitudes, emissions from their engines include carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, smoke, and nitrogen oxides. Compared to such earthbound activities as driving and farming, those high-flying pollutants amount to little more than a sigh in the jet stream. Still, airplane exhaust emissions do have impact on global climate changes. The greenhouse effect of released water and nitrogen oxides at cruise altitudes is large compared to the same emissions near the Earth's surface. And with air traffic predicted to continue growing at the rate of 5% a year, the potential for greater damage grows along with it. With government rules expected to become stricter in the coming years, some manufacturers are working now to produce the environmentally friendly engines required for tomorrow. General Electric and its international partners, for example, are creating a new generation of engines for all types of aircraft, from the latest Airbus to what will be the world's largest twin-engine commercial airplane, the Boeing 777. Propelling it through the air will be the most powerful engines on Earth. The GE90 engine is capable of thrust well in excess of 100,000 pounds. The engines on a 747, in comparison, produce from 45 to 60,000 pounds of thrust each, and 727 engines weigh in with a paltry 18,000 pounds. Yet with all this impressive power, the GE90 and its smaller counterparts, including the CFM56, run exceptionally clean and quiet. Fitted with a combustor that has a pair of domes, one customized for low speed and the other for high speed operations, the engines consume fuel far more completely, waste less energy, and discharge fewer pollutants into the air. Only 1/3 of the amount permitted by the government, in fact.
Of course, not all aircraft pollution is in the form of noxious gases. When planes take off and land, the noise they make can disturb the peace of humans and animals alike.
With their low exhaust velocity, these new engines reduce noise by some 35%. That, in turn, results in lower noise-related landing fees for airlines, fewer restrictions for the flying public due to local airport noise regulations, and, of course, the gratitude of the early-to-bed, early-to-rise crowd everywhere.
The Exxon Valdez oil spill was bad for the planet, but people who change their oil at home and just throw it away are even worse, 11 times worse. Those quarts of oil add up to disaster. Please take your used oil to an oil recycling center and get involved with today's environment today.
Refreshing cooler, a deadly killer. You and I sometimes have no way of telling if harmful pollutants and contaminants have found their way into our water supply. But for some scientists, detecting these often elusive substances is all in a day's work.
The water in this glass looks safe to drink, but is it really? When it comes to pollution, we can't always rely on our sense of sight, taste, or smell. So liquids have to be carefully analyzed by scientists for the presence of toxic materials that can cause people to become sick or even die. Contaminants from industry, accidents in transport, or even natural disasters have been linked to diseases ranging from food poisoning to cancer. So how do we test water and other liquids to safeguard public health? It's not always a simple matter of dipping a jar into a pond. Sometimes collecting samples can be a challenge in itself. Narrow openings and deep containers can make the sampling procedure especially tricky. But devices like these from Wheaton Science Products are designed for just such uses. Harmful microorganisms or chemicals can be present either in the liquid or in the muddy layer of sediment called sludge, so it's often important to be able to collect samples of both. Hard-to-reach places pose problems too. At 12 feet in length, this device lets workers take samples from ponds, lakes, or lagoons without having to get wet themselves. Of course, the presence of hazardous materials doesn't just pose a danger to the general public. The laboratory technicians who test and analyze these biological and chemical samples are at special risk. Accidents do happen, and when they involve hazardous materials, environmental contamination, injuries, deaths, and lawsuits can result. There is specialized equipment that can provide an extra margin of safety. This container, for example, has been treated with a coating that virtually acts as a second skin. Even when the glass shatters, the coating holds its shape for up to 145 hours, allowing almost any dangerous substance to be disposed of in a safe, timely manner. And how about when hazardous fluids have to be shipped out of the lab? They're not just something you can pop in an envelope. This polypropylene-filled leapfrog pouch acts as a cushion during shipment and a sponge should breakage or leaks occur. In order to be of the highest accuracy, sampling and testing can be time-consuming processes, but they're worth all the effort. After all, who would you rather have sample your drinking water first? Him or her. Coming up next on Today's Environment, an update on reformulated gasoline. What is it anyway? Then white rot fungi that helps the planet.
We've employed quite a few weapons in our ongoing battle against air pollution caused by the automobile. Mandatory carpools, no driving days, and catalytic converters, to name just a few. They've all been successful to some degree, but in many areas around the country, they haven't been successful enough. So could this turn out to be the ultimate weapon? Let's have a look.
See anything wrong with this picture? Well, sure, this car is sleek and stylish, but without even moving an inch, it's adding to our air pollution. How? Well, let's back up just a minute. You see, this is what most of us associate with air pollution, the exhaust. But it's a far greater problem than meets the eye.
In the winter months, for instance, cars produce their highest level of carbon monoxide. You can't see, taste, or smell carbon monoxide, but it can cause severe health damage. Unfortunately, pollution doesn't take the summer off either. When auto emissions combine in the presence of sunlight, low-level ozone or smog is formed. Ozone can have an adverse effect on the lungs and immune systems of people who work, play, or exercise outdoors. And even when the engine is shut off, pollutants can evaporate from the fuel tank into the air. The government has eased the problem by changing our engines and our driving habits. But the most recent development is taking place right in our gas tanks. Reformulated gasoline. This plant, owned by Arco Chemical, is producing additives that contain oxygen. The presence of these additives lets the fuel burn more cleanly and completely, greatly reducing the amount of pollutants in the process. There are 3 types of oxygenates used in reformulated gasoline. MTBE, produced from natural gas byproducts, ethanol, made from corn, and a new product, ETBE, which is a blend of ethanol and natural gas byproducts. The first 2 were used during the winters of 1992 through 94 in 26 metropolitan areas, such as Denver, that had unsafe carbon monoxide levels. The air quality improved by 95%. Reformulated gasoline will also be used through the summer months to reduce smog and gas vapor emissions as well. 16 states from Texas to Maine, including 9 metropolitan areas like Houston, are using reformulated gas, and some 1/3 of the fuel pumped in this country will follow suit in the near future. Besides getting used to the fuel's distinctive smell, consumers are also going to be paying about 3 to 5 cents more at the pump, according to the EPA.
But it's a small price to pay, supporters claim, for products that'll help reduce our dependence on foreign oil, provide a good, renewable cash crop for American farmers, and help give us clean air, and our mobile lifestyle, too.
Ever hear of an oxymoron? It's a term that seems to contradict itself, like jumbo shrimp, military intelligence, or family vacation. Yes, believe it or not, dirt can be clean or contaminated. And in this next segment, we explore how you can clean something that always gets you dirty. Take a look.
When kids, clothes, and other things get dirty, we simply wash them. How do you clean the soil on the ground after a spill of hazardous materials like oil, a toxic chemical, or even explosives? Well, not long ago, problems like this were dealt with by removing the contaminated soil and storing it somewhere else, but obviously this was not a permanent solution. During recent years, on-site bioremediation has become popular. This process uses naturally occurring bacteria to break down some pollutants, such as petroleum products. However, scientists at Utah State University, led by Dr. Stephen Aust, working under a National Institutes of Environmental Health Sciences Superfund grant, have discovered something better: white rot fungi. Found in nature, these unique fungi are responsible for decomposing fallen trees and branches. In fact, they're the only organism known to degrade lignin, the substance that makes wood hard. This is significant because lignin, which is known as nature's plastic, is a large, complex, insoluble molecule. This discovery led Dr. Aust and his research team to believe that if white rot fungus could decompose lignin, well, then it could also break down other complex molecules like DDT, PCBs, and other resistant toxic substances. And they were right. For example, creosote is a substance commonly applied to wooden telephone poles and fence posts to prevent rotting. Where bacteria are not totally effective in biodegrading an accidental creosote spill, white rot fungi are. The big difference is the way they decompose chemicals. Since bacteria eat the organic matter, they cannot eat or metabolize complex or highly toxic compounds. The fungi, on the other hand, release powerful enzymes which chemically react with the complex molecules, decomposing them to carbon dioxide and water without leaving any known toxic intermediates. As a result, they're able to break down hundreds of different complex organic substances, including toxic organic compounds. Utah State University has received a patent in the use of white rot fungi to degrade toxic chemicals. Intech 180 Corporation, based in Logan, Utah, was formed so that this technology could be commercially applied by licensed remediation contractors. To handle the supply of fungi in commercial quantities, the company turned to Sylvan Spawn Laboratory Incorporated, a subsidiary of Sylvan Foods, the world's largest producer of mushroom spawn. Here, the fungal inoculum is cultivated using the same basic methods that are used for mushrooms. An organic substrate such as sawdust, wood chips, or corn stalks provide the medium for the fungi to grow. The spawn is then shipped to the hazardous waste site where it is mixed with additional substrate and the contaminated soil. By controlling the amount of air, water, temperature, and other conditions, the perfect environment for fungi growth is created. Within a few weeks or months, the waste is reduced to harmless substances, and the white rot fungi self-destruct for lack of food. Safe and effective, this new technology offers hope for the future, and our environment is the real beneficiary.
Americans throw away nearly 250 million tires every year. By simply maintaining proper inflation, you can do the environment a big favor. Your tires will wear better, last longer, and you'll maximize your fuel economy. Think about it. A little bit of air can save a lot of oil. I hope this show has inspired you to think about the world you live in. Join us next time as we explore more environmental solutions on Today's Environment.
The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care. This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA.